What's up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Blindside Sports. Hope you guys had a fun weekend watching the NFL playoffs, and also UFC happened this weekend too. So I hope you had a great weekend. Emmett Douglas here. Nick Wright is also here. Nick, what's up, man? How are you doing? It's been a little bit, but glad that we can do another show and talk some of these playoffs.
Oh, me too, man. I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything like that, but I got a new little look going on here. It's going to be my new little hat that I'm going to be wearing around for a while as a sports fan. And if you can't tell, it's a big old bag covering my head.
That's the kind of life that Nick Wright's been living the past week here, coping with the Chargers loss. I mean, that one was, and we're gonna get to this. Actually, we kind of with the stunt. I feel like we have to leave with this. The Chargers lost, Nick. I'm just gonna since you have the bag on your head, since you're doing all this, just rant about it. Just give your thoughts about the game. I don't even know how long we're gonna spend on this because it's probably gonna go a very long time. So if you're a Chargers hater, then or if you don't like the Charger talk, then back out of here. But this is good for the show, Nick. So Nick, just take it away. What thoughts on the game? Thoughts on Trevor Lawrence's performance? Thoughts on Staley? Thoughts on everything from that absolutely horrific Chargers loss last week?
Well, trust me. I'm sorry that, we should be leading with the divisional games and things like that. I appreciate you, just ripping the Band-Aid off for me so I can get this off my chest right off the beginning here. I appreciate that. I've been a sports fan since I can remember when I was 8 years old or so. I've gone through many painful losses. The McCree fumble in 2007 to the Patriots when the Chargers were rolling. The Lakers losing to the Celtics in 2008. There's many heartbreaking losses. Many Angels collapses, many Chargers collapses in the playoffs too. But this is without a doubt the most sports-shattering, soul-shattering moment of my life. It was absolutely the most devastating thing that I've seen. And do you know what's funny? Let me go through the course of the game when Trevor Lawrence was, about to have the most disaster class game in maybe playoff history. Asante Samuel Jr. picking him off 3 times in the first half. Yeah. It was just.
The memes on that were great, by the way. People are like, Asante Samuel is the Jags' leading receiver, and
it literally at a point he had more yards than the Jaguars receivers.
Yeah, and it was bad.
And you know what? As it was it was 27 zip. I tweeted out, it's a big lead, and every Charger fan knew in their gut. I tweeted out, you know what? Every Charger fan right now, has their gut. And actually, I think I tweeted out when it was at the very end of the half, it ended up being 27-7. Yes. But it was 27 zip no matter what. That's what they blew. And every Charger fan at half I knew in the bottom of our hearts, I'm like, damn, I had a bad feeling. Every Charger fan who's been a fan for at least 15 years, 10 years, had that feeling, especially don't get me started about even the oldest of the old head Charger fans freaked out too. I just knew, just the boneheaded plays when, oh man, I wish I had the stat in front of me, but they only had about 80 yards rushing the whole game.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the second half, in the second half, I think they rushed it only like 8 times. It's like Staley got massive.
What play calling is that?
There was a play where it was like 3rd and inches, and you have a 6'6" quarterback where you should quarterback sneak it all day long. They do this ridiculous slant route that ended up being a fumble.
That was so stupid. I was like, what are you guys doing, man?
That was just, so they fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. Thank God. I've complained about him to you all year long. But anyway, just that transition, it kept going and going. And I will say there was a point, I think it was in the 4th. That game is just so fuzzy in my head at this point. I will say, I'm the biggest Herbert lover of all time, and I have his back. He has a part of this blame. If you have a blame pie, he's got a slice at the table. I'm not going to just.
Who has the most slices? Who is a guy who went back for the seconds and thirds? Staley?
Oh, Staley gets the biggest part, of course, and Joe Lombardi. But there was a point where the game would have been over, where Herbert had the easiest pass to Keenan Allen in the end zone in the fourth quarter, and that just probably would have sealed the game because they would have had 4 points instead of 3.
Yes.
Up 4 instead of 3. And when I saw that, that's when I really knew. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to happen. I just knew in my heart this was going to happen. And the game unfolded like how I kind of thought it would, and the Chargers pulled one of the worst playoff upsets of all time, like only the Chargers could. As they say, the Chargers always charger, and they chargered the hardest ever.
Yeah, I agree. You kind of said it well there. Brandon Staley, he had his questionable decisions. Herbert wasn't Herbert. Like, he wasn't like the Justin Herbert, that we, going off in the playoffs. And the weirdest thing to me about this was you guys are blowing out the Jaguars. It's the second half. How do you run out the clock? How do you waste time by running?
That's the thing.
You only run it 8 times.
They didn't run the ball. That's when you see the other playoff games throughout, even last weekend, this weekend, when you have a big lead. Even if you go 3 and out, most of oh, by the way, if Brandon Staley didn't play Mike Williams in week 18, I think he would have been good for a few first downs in that third or fourth quarter, don't you think? But anyway, even if you go
real quickly, the thing is, and this may have been you on our last show, or this may have been something I saw on Twitter, but the record when the Chargers are playing with Mike Williams, it was like 8-2 or something like that.
You have that right. And then
without 2-4 without him. So I don't know what Staley was thinking. Yeah. That was a costly decision by him. I think that was game altering.
And going back to Staley, even if Mark Schlereth the next day broke it down on a few shows. So, even if you go 3 and out and just get a few first downs, you take away like a minute and a half, almost 2.5 minutes per 3 and out. So it was the most poorly mismanaged second half in NFL history. The fact that Staley kept his job after that blows my freaking mind. Yes. I get it that I get it that there's still a year left on his deal, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, I know the locker room has his back. I really always hate that crap. I don't care if the locker room has his back. Sometimes you have to save players from themselves. And this is a classic case of that. But here's my hopeful thing is that they're going to, whatever happens next year, I'm not even hopeful next year because the Chargers have a brutal schedule. But Sean Payton, I hope, stays away for one more year. Hopefully Denver doesn't. Well, you know what? If Denver does overpay and give a first-round pick and pay him $20 million a year, good for them. But maybe Sean Payton stays another year and stands pat to see, if and when Brandon Staley blows it again. So anyway, that's my. I got to be over. I want to suck up the whole show to my Chargers thing. Quickly. I'll never get over it until they win a Super Bowl at this point.
So what were you? Where were you? How did this fold out when you were watching the game? Who were you with? Stuff like what was it like in the Wright house when this just unfortunate event happened?
Oh yeah, I was with my wife and I was with my mom, who we both watched Charger games together when I was young, and they're both excited for me at the second half, at the first half, and I was just stoic the whole time, like I'm not getting excited yet. Was I jumping up and down every time Lawrence threw all 4 picks? Of course. But when the second half hit, I was just on pins and needles the whole time, and it was like just torture every single second that went by, and it's like the time would just never go down because Staley never ran the ball. And you know what? And again, I got to go back. They did put the ball. Staley put the fact that they didn't run the ball. They put the ball in Herbert's hands to at least get a touchdown, to which he could have had to Keenan Allen, like I said before, in that fourth quarter. I gotta say, I'm his biggest fan, but they put the ball in his hands, and it just didn't happen. You know what I mean? But so I'm really interested to see their next offensive coordinator. By the way, first of all, their first 3 hires for its offensive coordinators are absolute jokes. So I'm really not thrilled so far about that.
Yeah, that's a good point there. And also, this is a perfect segue because your wife is a Niners fan. And we had a bet, me and you, a couple weeks ago, 3 days before Jimmy G fractured his foot. I had the Niners in the Super Bowl. You had the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And look how it played out.
Here we go.
Niners, Eagles, NFC Championship. We'll get into this a little bit later. I just had to bring it up. I mean, it's great for our bet here. Everything went according to plan. And my other question, real quickly, if you were say the Chargers, hypothetically got past the Jaguars, what do you think? Who they? I believe they played the Chiefs, right?
Yep.
Would that be a close game in your opinion? How nervous would you have been for that? Do you think there could have been an upset there?
The first 2 games of the season, I mean, they always play them close. And, obviously, the circumstances, I can't just say, if you put the Chargers into that game, and if Mahomes, that injury that happened to his ankle.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of, it's stupid to say, but just in a hypothetical world, maybe if that did happen to Mahomes and the defense, even though let's just say the Chargers squeaked by the game and the Jaguars, I still think that defense would have showed up because they always show up well and they're healthier than the last time they played the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think it would have been, I'm not saying that they would have won by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think with Mahomes' ankle injury, which is unfortunate, he's going to be limited next week, which is going to be fascinating. But
the one game you really want him for, if you're for Kansas City fans, to finally get that win against Joe Burrow.
By the way, too, speaking of being last year is all remember last year when it was all about Burrow Herbert before the playoffs last year.
Yep.
That door is closed, ain't it? Good Lord. Yeah.
Yep. Why don't we dive into the games this weekend? Emmett Douglas, Nick Wright. Get Nick on Twitter at @isNickWright. Get me at EmmettNoC04. Why don't we go? We'll start with yesterday. Why don't we talk about the Buffalo Bills Cincinnati Bengals game, Nick? And this one wasn't the main kind of story, as Ben Maller says, better stories in the losing locker room, and that's the Buffalo Bills, man. And I think we've learned something here. Josh Allen, I think he's still a good quarterback. And this is not what I'm saying. The Bills need help. You're a cold weather team in Buffalo. And I was talking to Cavino and Rich about this earlier. I called their show, and you're a cold weather team in Buffalo, and you're not running the ball. And the Bengals are just absolutely just torching you. Joe Mixon had a good game. Joe Burrow came down and burnt them right away. So I just think there's some stuff needed to be changed for the Bills, and that main priority is a number 1 running back. I think a lot of it too, you need to, Josh Allen needs to get on the same page with the coaches. Last week, let's be real. If Skylar Thompson wasn't there, if there's any, better of a quarterback, the Bills would have been bounced. And if Mike McDaniel didn't have his freaking 18 brain farts in the fourth quarter with those delay of games, the Bills would have been bounced. But Josh Allen, he needs to figure it out. He needs to take this offseason to get all healthy. He's been playing with injuries. Von Miller, one of the better defensive guys, was out. And also, for the Bengals, this game, I get the Bills weren't there completely, but this shows that the Bengals are going to be good for a pretty good amount of time. The Bengals are that team now. I feel like them and the Chiefs are them teams in the AFC. And also, I'll end this little rant with what were your thoughts on the way Stephon Diggs handled the game? Handled the loss, leaving, yelling at Josh Allen, yelling at people. What were your thoughts on that and the game?
Well, first off, we can't. At the beginning of the year, I said I thought Josh Allen was going to make this leap to maybe contend for maybe the best quarterback in the league. And
I agree.
The first month or so, it was looking pretty good. And
he blew out the Rams 38-10, and then the 41-7 against the Titans in week 2, and then week 4 he started to fall off. I think
the red zone turnovers started happening, the fumbles, the interceptions. Things started happening, and you could say he wants more help. There's a pretty good team around him, I guess. Yeah, he definitely could use a really good running back. But this was their element, right? At Buffalo,
that's
snow.
what I'm saying. Cold.
Come on, and Joe Burrow went out there and literally just ate their lunch in their own refrigerator.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And, I agree. They do need a good running back because even though Josh Allen is such a huge dude and can be a tight end, it just, man, he is arguably like their best running back, and it just shouldn't be like that. But it shows that his turnovers at the end of the season kind of melded into the playoffs. I mean, the Dolphins without Tua last week almost got him. And it's just, he's not this. I think he regressed a little towards the end of the season into the playoffs. You can't argue, you can't deny that he regressed. And I don't know how much help he needs at this point, but I mean, I think simply he just played a really bad game. The whole Bills team, and losing Von Miller was a big deal, but still, it's not. Man, the Bengals just came in and just ate him up. Joe Burrow is without a doubt the second best quarterback in the league at this point,
behind Mahomes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And I mean, if Joe Burrow, think about it. I mean, Herbert won Offensive Rookie of the Year, but Joe Burrow got injured that year, and 2 years later. He's in back-to-back AFC Championship games.
All right, I'm going to pose this question. If Joe Burrow leads the Bengals to a Super Bowl victory, is he better than Mahomes?
If he just gets it, if he beats Mahomes again in Kansas City.
And then they go to the Super Bowl
and wins.
Yes.
Man.
It's a hard question because
it's like statistically, I don't know.
Mahomes, I agree, because Mahomes has been there. 5,000 yards. He had one of his better years without Tyreek Hill.
I got to cut you off. We all know it's looking like Mahomes is going to be limited this Sunday. If Mahomes beats Burrow with like a hobbled ankle and is maybe at 70%, because he's not going to be able to move and run like he can, get those first downs. I mean, if Mahomes pulls this win off and everyone, it's a big story that Mahomes is playing tough, he's gutting it out, and he ends up winning that game. I mean, I think Mahomes is just going to be undisputed. But I mean, again, if Burrow if Burrow shows up and has a masterclass 300 game, 3 touchdowns, and beats the Chiefs again in Kansas City, it's an argument. It's definitely an argument.
I agree, and it's something tells me that the Bengals aren't winning on Sunday. I just have a feeling that KC is gonna. I mean, 4 times in a row they've lost to Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They're not. They're a 5-piece. I don't think so. I think even with Mahomes being limited, he's still gonna be like. I don't think that dude's gonna feel pain until after the game.
My thing is every. I mean, have you seen Travis Kelce's playoff stats over the last couple of years? Can someone just? I know he's like the best tight end in the NFL right now. Can someone just cover him? I mean, is he going to be are people just going to let a monster truck everybody every single game? I mean, it's unbelievable.
What's unbelievable? It's weird because when Tyreek Hill left, I was like, all right, the reason both these guys are successful is because you got these 2 top at their position, like receiver and tight ends. Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends, and then you got Tyreek Hill, who's a top 5 like receiver. It's just you don't know who to cover. So I thought, there'd definitely be some regression, but these teams can't figure out how to guard Travis Kelce. It's weird.
And that's what blows my mind. I didn't think the Chiefs were going to be bad this year by any means, but I thought I thought Tyreek Hill leaving, I thought Mahomes would, slow down a little bit, and he's arguably better than last year. I mean, he is better than last year.
Yep.
And he's making like just random Tony and other random guys like that just look amazing. And anyway, just Mahomes is the best quarterback. And
about Kadarius Toney, and he's a younger receiver. He played.
I was going to butcher that name. That's why I just said Tony, by the way. But
yeah. So my thing is he's a fast young guy, and he's like a broke man's Tyreek Hill. I mean, like broke man's. Like I'm talking, he's still good, but he's not what Tyreek Hill was. I mean, the dude, he's been showing out ever since he got traded from out of New York to Kansas City. Maybe that scene swap will go play with Mahomes. Everything's working in that dude's favor.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, again, if he was on, let's say, the Saints, would he be that good? No, I mean, Mahomes elevates anybody around him.
Yeah, but what's I mean, the Saints don't have anybody, so.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, just
Yeah, I get the point. I get the point. Yeah, Mahomes' ankle injury is going to be very key for the Bengals, and I think they kind of need to, if they can cover the guys you cover the receivers to where Mahomes has to think and, kind of run around like who's he going to throw to, that's what the Bengals are going to need to do. They're going to have to, they're going to need an elite secondary performance, right? Because if Mahomes, he's like you said, high ankle sprain, these injuries take a little bit to heal. He's not going to be at 100%, and he put 70% might be even a little high. He might be at 60%. You don't know.
He's not going to be able to run 10 yards like he usually does. He's good for at least a few runs a game, and he can't. Yep.
So if the Bengals can guard up that, the receivers and Travis Kelce, then that's what's going to put them at their best chance to win. And I think if you're Zach Taylor, if you're that Bengals defense, that's what you are working on this weekend. You're working with your corners on coverage. You're working with, the safeties, all that. You're getting everyone prepared because this is a huge advantage for the Bengals. If you can play your cards right, this could really work to their favor. If they can just cover players.
I mean, they have the confidence, not even to mention last year, they beat these guys. And now
it wasn't like a good game either. Didn't Mahomes throw like a pick or two? They
rattled them.
Good. Yeah.
So they have that confidence, and now they just shut down Josh Allen. I mean, they have all the confidence knowing that they can beat these guys in their house. So, I mean, I'm not going to bet, but if I were to bet, I think the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl again. I really do.
I think the Bengals, the line actually changed on that game. It went, I think at first the Chiefs were favored by like 3, and then it went to 1 point favorites, and then the Bengals are favored by like 1.5. So like the line's all over the place.
That's pure Mahomes.
Yep.
So wow.
Pure Mahomes. I agree right there too. But man, those Chiefs fans are gonna be rowdy and loud.
They're gonna... and hey, Chad Henne came into the game and looked pretty formidable. So I mean, it's not that insane,
Yeah, I agree. Why don't we jump over to the NFC here? For yesterday's game, the Cowboys and the 49ers.
Yeah.
And Nick, this is a very very important game for Nick and his family. Wife being a Niners fan, and
I guess
you're on the next week's going to be the real. For us and for you. I mean, you got the Eagles, but
real quick, sorry, I do have to interject really quick. I just have to point out a fact. Since I've been with my wife, which has been a little over 3 years now, since I met her, the Niners have gone to 3 NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl, which they lost to the Chiefs. So technically, ever since I met her, she's had amazing luck, and I think that's due to me. But anyway, I just had to point that out.
Yeah, she's probably loving that, right? But hey,
she rubs it in my face all the time. That
and they're too. And the thing with the Niners, and this is making me a little bit scared. Yeah, I know we had the bet. I know I'm huge on the Eagles, but man, that defense is electric. Like that. Whoa. I mean, the best. I feel like this is the best team the Niners have had in a while.
Nick Bosa is the shoe-in for Defensive Player of the Year. He's just nasty.
Oh yeah, Nick Bosa, and then you go on that offense. You got CMC who's just going off. But back to the game yesterday, the Cowboys Niners. It was. I just have to say this, Brett Maher. What is wrong with you, bro?
I feel bad for that guy, man.
Too.
I'm not gonna lie.
And it's bad. You know it's bad, and this is when I really started to feel bad for the guy. I see a tweet on my timeline yesterday saying Brett Maher has made a field goal. When that has to get tweeted out like that.
But the thing is, it's like he's getting made fun of, but he wasn't the reason they lost the game, and he got made fun of for missing all those extra points last week, but they still won the game. So I mean, he's getting I think he's getting some unfair. Due here.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for the guy.
Gamblers hate him because.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, they were 1 point away from the over, so all the over bettors just despise him,
and that's what makes you think.
Yep.
I mean, who misses 4 extra points in a row? That was a little sus.
It was a little sus. My only kind of theory on this is this is just non-NFL guy me thinking this. Those extra points they used to. I feel like kickers overthink them. They're like, oh, this is just so easy. We got this. So I think he and also the playoff nerves to get, Tom Brady. I think for some of those ones for Brett Maher, that was a little bit, he's kind of just not in the zone. But man, 4 extra points in one game is just wild. You have to wonder.
And that's the thing too.
For the guy.
Didn't that feel like we didn't do a show in a couple weeks? When he missed all those extra points, I'm like, oh, look at this. Tom Brady getting a little break here to come back. And, we can talk about that later. But I mean, like, I just thought that was going to be a window for Tom to come back.
Exactly.
And it was a disaster.
Texting one of my friends who's a big Cowboys fan, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, we're playing against Brady, and this was after the second missed extra point. So I believe it was 12-0 at this point. He was like, that is going to be costly because Tom Brady's came back from multiple double-digit deficits this year that he shouldn't have won, but in that last quarter, he came back and won. Thankfully, if you're a Cowboys guy, that didn't happen. But man, that at first I was like, oh, that is costly. I was like, Brady's going to pull some Brady heroics, and it's going to be OVER, as Arnie would say. I mean, I was like, oh. And also, we talk about Twitter and memes a lot on here. The memes for this, so it was, there's a couple memes. It was the fourth missed extra point. It was a video, and it was him missing the fourth extra point. And then it cut to the BK ad, and the guy's like, man, they ruin my dreams every time.
I mean, after the third one, I was losing my mind. And I'm like, when there was the fourth one coming up, I'm like, I was just like, there's no way. It was and it shanked it again. And I never seen anything like that. Was one of the funniest things I've seen in NFL history. But anyway.
Yeah. And I've had some bad luck with kickers because of Blair Walsh in 2017. So
don't be sorry. Nate Kading for the Chargers back in 2010. I don't want to hear it. But yeah.
Yeah, man, I hate it's the worst when your kicker sucks. But back to the game yesterday, man. Dak Prescott he had a couple interceptions, and that's why I was saying to my friends, I may have tweeted this as well, that can Dak have two great games in a row? And that's why I was so high on the Niners. I was like, I think these defenses are going to match great. The Niners offense wasn't great, but it wasn't like horrible. The Cowboys were making some good plays to stop them, and obviously that Niners defense was locking up Dak, a couple interceptions. And then kind of the tipping point for the Cowboys was that Tony Pollard injury. When Tony Pollard went down, I think that's what really affected the Cowboys. So after that, it was kind of OVER, and then that last drive, and then another weird kind of play calling situation happened at the end of the game, the final drive, final couple seconds. I don't know what the Cowboys have with these weird, play calls against the Niners. It happened last year too. They really botched last year's wild card. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting game. I liked what Brock Purdy did. CMC always doing his thing, but I think next week is going to be more. There's going to be a lot more offense out there for the Niners. I really do. The Eagles' defense is nothing compared to the Cowboys. The Cowboys were like the only comparable team to the Niners in terms of defense. So I think that it was more of a defensive battle. And Dak Prescott, his two costly interceptions, did not help the Cowboys out. So yeah, this is a very important game for us. Now that the Niners won, we got Niners Eagles, mine and Nick's DoorDash bet. So hopefully the Eagles win, because I got Eagles, he got Niners. So yeah.
Yeah, I want free food and my wife to be happy, so it'd be a huge win for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because all of my misery this year. But no, that game, my wife will never find this out because she'll never watch this. I thought for sure the Cowboys were going to win this game. I really thought Brock Purdy's rookie-ness would finally, catch up to him, and he would just, it's not like it would be the worst thing in the world, because what else do you expect? This kid is insane right now. And he didn't blow anyone away. Good Lord, it was his, 8th start in his second playoff game? Yep. What other rookie has ever had to do this? None. So, and he just looks like he's played in the NFL for at least 5 years right now. It's really unbelievable. Again, he didn't blow anyone away yesterday, but he didn't make any mistakes. He played conservatively enough to win because he knew his defense is that damn good and he doesn't have to go ballistic. And it just showed that, I know Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league, but George Kittle is a hair behind him. It is, that bobble catch that he had
was a crazy catch. That really was.
But we got to go back. Dak Prescott has been in the league, what, 7 years now, I believe, roughly?
All right, yeah, 6. I think this is his 7th. Yes, he got drafted in the 2016 draft. So
Okay, so, I mean, it's been this long now, and he only has a few playoff wins. And again, like, those picks that he had were just, I mean, that underthrow in his first pick was just brutal.
yeah,
And, you know, I mean, and his second pick, it was just, it pretty much got picked off twice. It went off one 49er and just bounced off to the other guy. So it was just,
yeah.
I mean, it was, I mean, he had the most turnover interceptions in the league, and he missed 4 games. I mean, and it continued in the playoffs.
And he has a
how
fat
many more
contract
years
as well.
He's like the AFC's Derek Carr. A lot of years. I know Derek Carr has no playoff wins and only been in the playoffs once. And people will say, "Oh no, Derek Carr he got injured." No, I'm not counting Derek Carr's injured year. He only went to the playoff once. So he's like the AFC's Derek Carr. And what do the Cowboys do at this point? And by the way, to bring up Dak Prescott, did you see the official Dallas Cowboys Twitter account just throwing him under the bus?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, good. I've never seen a team do somebody like that on their own quarterback, no less. So I don't know what the hell. I mean, could there be like a shakeup going on? And I mean, Jerry Jones has a lot to think about. And I just think it's showing that, you know, Dak's ceiling is what we've seen. I don't think there's another level that he can get to at this point if he can't even outperform the last pick in the draft who only throw for 220 yards. I mean, Dak. For I know the Niners defense is nasty, but that's a game where Dak has to win when the Niners only put up 19 points with a rookie quarterback. It it is what it is. I mean, Justin Herbert got all of his crap, and I said he kind of deserves it, but I mean, between Josh Allen and Dak Prescott, it's a little worse to me.
I agree, completely agree. It was not, that's what you said, 19 points. And I get both these defenses are great. I get the Cowboys have a great defense. They held the Niners. Good job by them. But the Cowboys not being able to do anything against a 7th. You're saying rookie quarterback, but 7th round last drafted player, Brock Purdy. It's not like he's a first rounder or whatever. It's not like he was in these big time things with Nick Saban at Alabama. He went to shout out Iowa Sam. He went to Iowa State.
Yes.
So he's not like he's not used to these big moments like these other, rookies could, an Alabama type or like an Ohio State type quarterback could be used to. So for him to have, and it wasn't like a great game. Like, oh my God, look at Brock Purdy.
No, but he did
the job.
Yes,
he did what he was there to do, and you can't judge him for that.
Emmett, I know. I love Brian Knows, one of my favorite guys that
I was just going to bring this up. I know where you're going.
You know what I'm going to say?
The insanity thing?
He is poo-pooing Brock Purdy, and I don't appreciate it at all, and I'm going to call him out on it eventually because he is just hating on him, and it's like, do you realize Brock Purdy is doing? It's driving me crazy.
Is there some history? You've talked to Brian behind the scenes, running the board, producing a show on the board. Is there something he has against the Niners that we don't know about? Same thing. No. He's a huge Jimmy G hater too.
I mean,
I don't know. Jimmy, and I can agree with him on that. But Brock Purdy, this guy's.
I've seen all of his tweets and I haven't responded yet, but I'm about to pretty soon here because it's like, what? How do you not love what this kid is doing? How do you not? Just appreciate what he's doing. See, I don't know. I think it's a little wild.
Yeah, he was filling in for Big Ben, and he was like, yeah, Brock Purdy, it was like it's like Linsanity, where he has, the little kind of patch of great games. And then
that's a terrible comparison. So Linsanity was a 2-week run in the January of the NBA season. This is like the biggest. No other rookie in NFL history has done this so far. This is ridiculous. That's a terrible comparison.
Yeah, wow. I think even the Fox Sports Twitter account posted that one. So whoever runs that did them dirty.
Yeah, that's a horrible comparison. I love Brian, but that's terrible. Wow.
Yeah, Brian. He's a good dude, but sometimes me and him agree on 75% of takes, sports, and me and him agree to disagree on a lot of food takes. We agree on most sports, but the food, this guy Brian, no, and I like Velveeta cheese, but not on my tacos. Come on, no.
He has. I mean, his music and food takes always just drove me insane.
They don't make sense. I mean, what he
loves metal music and hard rock music, but he doesn't like Rush and Tool. Like,
yes,
it drives me. Me and Justin Cooper have always talked about that. It drives us insane. Like, it literally does not make any sense to not like Tool but love like heavy metal and hard rock. It doesn't make any sense.
And Justin Cooper is like one of the biggest Tool fans around. So
me too. I mean, we always thought. I mean, that was the thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Coop was out those 2 shows though when Brian was in, so he couldn't rebuttal on any of those takes, unfortunately. It's funny though. I don't know if you ever listen to Ben or if anyone listens, here listens to Ben, but when him and Coop get into arguments, it is great. Triggered Coop's hilarious, man.
I mean, it's been a while, but I do remember. I mean, I do remember sometimes it gets good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then Roberto with his loud laugh in the background, just I mean, his laugh is picked up through Justin's mic half the time, and same for 2 pros. It's funny, you hear him, talking. Like Lee DeLapp will be talking, they hear Roberto, yeah, in the background, or do a laugh. It's hilarious, man. Roberto's great, but yeah, this whole kind of Brock Purdy thing, he's not. I can understand. Okay, 8 games. This Niners team's really, one of the best. Like this Niners system's crazy. I can't disagree there, but the nerves alone are enough to mess up a system for a rookie quarterback with some nerves. Let's say I don't say rookie, but younger. Let's go back to last year's wild card game, the Super Wild Card weekend, Monday Night Football. Kyler Murray, that dude, you could tell he was just not in it. And Brock Purdy looked like he's been in the league for years.
Yep.
He looked like a veteran. I mean, he wasn't 300 yards. No, like you said, he played conservative. He did his job and he won. And that's what the Niners need. They don't need him to have all these pretty plays. They just need him to play game management football, hand the ball to McCaffrey, occasionally throw a dot to George Kittle, and they're going to be fine.
And by the way, I know I'm going to bug you about this. I might need you to have you edit down a portion of do you remember a show we did a few months ago when I was the first person before you heard it on radio? Remember when I said, like, when it was like the first 2 weeks that Brock Purdy won, it's like, this kid looks like he can play. And then I went forward in the future and did the whole Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe comparison because it came out that Jimmy G could be healthy if they so choose to play him. So I might need to edit that one part down in that show a couple months ago because I was the first to have that guy to say what you got to go with Brock Purdy. You got to go with Tom Brady over Bledsoe. I mean, come on. So we're going to see. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that was right after the Dolphins game. I'll try and find that later.
Yeah. So I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, if Brock and that's the thing, Emmett, I want to ask you, the Niners have such a frustrating. I mean, it's a good and a bad thing to have because if Brock Purdy takes him, I mean, even at this point, right now, cut it off, and let's just say Brock takes him to the big show. How do they move off him? I mean, especially when they traded all that draft capital to get Trey Lance, and they have Jimmy G. I mean, it's going to be rough. What do you think? If Brock Purdy takes them to the Super Bowl, or even right now, let's just say he plays a good game and they barely lose to the Eagles, what do the Niners do? They got to keep him, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to ride the hot hand and keep him. But obviously Jimmy G's out. That's a fact. He's not coming back to the Niners. He's going to get picked up by like the Commanders or some weird team like that. Trey Lance, he's recovering from his injury. The one game and one drive we saw wasn't his best efforts. The 8 games that we've seen from, I believe it was like 8 or 9 games we've seen from Brock Purdy has looked great. So I think the Niners here, I think here's their 2 moves. Either they get some capital back for Trey Lance, trade him to a team who, has like a middle of the round pick, who can't really draft a top guy, but still needs a quarterback, or they keep both Brock Purdy and Trey Lance and start Brock Purdy and if anything goes bad, you have that kind of security blanket. But if it goes good, then you trade Brock Purdy at next year's deadline. Those are the 2 things that I think could happen. If it were me, I'd probably keep Brock, and then I'd trade Trey because
I mean, they traded up to get him. I mean, I get it. I mean, here's the thing:
if you win a Super Bowl,
if he gets them to the Super Bowl and plays well, let's just say they win the whole damn thing. You got to just. I mean, I'm sure some team will give up a first round pick for Trey Lance.
Exactly.
Just take it. I mean, you got a Super Bowl. I mean, it was the biggest fluke. I mean, Trey Lance got hurt. Jimmy G got hurt. Brock Purdy could have never seen the light of day ever if that didn't happen, and he might go to a Super Bowl. Think about that. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. And, I mean, hey, that Niners defense, if Jalen Hurts, I mean, I think he's going to have a little bit more struggles than he usually does that game just because of that defense. So, like, if Brock Purdy can game manage, then he could have a Super Bowl.
Oh, man, Jalen Hurts is looking good, though, I got to say. He is evolved. He is just evolved.
He ruined the Giants' dream.
Because, I mean, by the way, I totally forgot. I got to eat my words because I said our last show that I thought the Eagles were going to be a one and done. And
yes, you did.
Because Jalen Hurts was so – I got to eat crow on that because I thought Jalen Hurts last year in the playoff game was so terrible. And I thought maybe – I mean, I wasn't sure about him. And, man, he is just ridiculous. And I got to eat – and, I was just wrong about Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, and I believe we disagreed on that. I said that I've been high on the Eagles. I had Gargano on, Anthony Gargano, Fox Sports Radio and Philadelphia Sports Radio.
Oh, nice.
Legend. At the beginning of the year.
I worked with him. I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I was telling Ethan, who produces his show at Fox, and he's a Philly guy, born, raised. I was like, if the Eagles make the Super Bowl, I'm getting both you guys on at the same time and just letting just two Philly fans just have the mic. I mean, it's crazy because Jalen Hurts, what was he, a second-round pick? Nobody expected him to be like an MVP candidate. I think Mahomes is going to win it, and that's just because Hurts missed those couple games. But if Hurts never missed those games, he'd be the MVP. And I mean, the Eagles were
maybe. I don't know about that.
I think he would. I think he would because Mahomes. I mean, he was great and all, and I'm not discounting Mahomes, but everyone loves the rushing quarterback of the heavy rushing quarterback, like that style, like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts, I have to give him credit, man. He's been, I mean, the one thing that I said Jalen needs to improve on was his passing. And he's been throwing them to AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith's looking good. I mean, all the Eagles are really coming into it. And yeah, I picked that at the start of the year. I said the Eagles are going to be pretty good. And there we go. And I said this a couple weeks ago when we had hosted our last show. I said, I almost want to wonder sometimes that bye week, it could help or hurt you more than help you, but it definitely helped the Eagles more than it hurt. I mean, you give Jalen Hurts a week off. His shoulder got completely healed. There was no limitations at all on his arm. He came back and just torched the Giants. I mean, torched. It was not close.
I mean, people are talking about Daniel Jones. I mean, by the way, remember Dow, who shall not be named from that one show, went to go say that Daniel Jones is elite at this point in the NFL. He thinks Herbert stinks, but Daniel Jones is elite. So, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Daniel Jones, I will say the Giants had a great year. I mean, the Giants really overachieved. They won a playoff game. They beat the overrated Vikings. I mean, I think kind of everyone knew that was going to happen. The current he should be the current Chargers coach, Brian Daboll, but instead the Chargers went with dope Brandon Staley. No, I mean Brian Daboll has really elevated Daniel Jones, and I don't know. The Giants are in a tough spot, aren't they? I mean, he made such a giant leap, and let's be honest. I always give Herbert his praise because he missed Mike Williams and Keenan Allen most of the year. He's had, 1 year, his rookie year where, I mean, he's had years where he has to throw to Uber drivers. And Daniel Jones has no guys to throw to, not a whole lot to work with. And he had a great year.
Who even is their lead receiver? Like, I'm not even trying to troll. Like, who is it?
Oh, trust me. I'm not even going to pretend to know / even I could do a cheat sheet on my phone right now. I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't.
So, I mean, what do you do? Do you give Daniel Jones a shot? I think you got to try to give him another shot. I mean, this was like a rebuild. This is their first year of a rebuild, and they won a playoff game. So, I mean, I think you give Daniel Jones a shot. I was one of his biggest haters, but I mean, Dable turned him around. I think the Giants should give him.
Oh yeah, Brian Dable. I mean, at this point, I get he got absolutely mollywopped by the Eagles. Do you think Brian Daboll is going to win Coach of the Year? Because I think nobody.
It's a tight race. I mean, that's a really. I mean, think about it. You got Dable, you got Sirianni, you got Pete Carroll.
Yep.
And
Kyle Shanahan. Let's face it.
Let's think Shanahan, and I mean, I'll say it. No one talks about. I mean, Andy Reid. I mean, there's there's a lot of candidates. I mean, Doug Peterson. Let's not forget Doug Peterson returning around the Jags.
You're right.
I mean,
you're right there.
It's a toss-up.
I'm trying to go down the list. See for me. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs. If they did, though, Dan Campbell would have been in that.
Yeah. Top yep. Absolutely.
I love Dan Campbell. That guy is funny, man.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah. So but personally, I actually think Kyle Shanahan's going to win because of how Brock Purdy's been playing. I mean, getting Christian McCaffrey, they're undefeated since getting him.
Yeah, I remember saying Shanahan. My wife, who's a big Niner fan, is like, is kind of, I mean, she's a big Niners fan, but she's not like, totally in tune with everything that's going on in the NFL. So when I told her, like, oh my God, you got McCaffrey, this is a really big deal. And she's like, oh, cool. Like, awesome. And, 12-0 later, I'm like, hey, remember when I told you this is a really big deal? So anyway, but yeah, Shanahan, I mean, honestly, I'm going to have to go with your guy. I am sticking to my guns because I've said this all year. My coach of the year is Pete Carroll to what he did to get into the playoffs with Geno Smith. I think it's Pete Carroll for me.
Yeah, Geno Smith, and now they're talking about bringing him back, and Geno wants to retire a Seahawk, and there's a whole thing there. And
come on, man, you can't give him a long term. You can't really give him a long term deal. Give him like a 1 year.
1 or 2 year deal. I completely agree, and that's kind of the next point. We got the 5th pick. Thank you, Denver. Thanks for sucking.
Who
do we go? Lineman? Do we go defensive lineman?
Do you maybe trade up? Because that Chicago is going to trade down for that number 1 pick. Do you dare get CJ Stroud? I don't know.
It might have. Hey, all I'm going to say, and I really want a defensive lineman, and I really like Geno, but all I'm going to say is if you're the Seahawks, draft a quarterback. If you want to draft a quarterback, you don't know about Geno.
And I've been watching sports longer than you. Doesn't mean I know more. But in this day and age especially, it's always been the case. But now more than ever, if you're in the top 5 and you can maybe go the extra length because one guy is a surefire deal, you have to get a quarterback.
And
I was listening to Max Kellerman earlier. If you're a team who doesn't have a top 8 quarterback, your chances of winning is so low, it's insane. Like you have to get a surefire quarterback, and it's really hard to do.
And what I was going to say about this is, if you're John Schneider in that Seahawks front office and you want a quarterback, get it this year. Who knows how long Pete Carroll's going to be coaching for? He's getting up there. 70 or 71 years old is Pete Carroll. So, and I think whoever, if we do draft the CJ Stroud or we do draft they're going to have to learn from Pete Carroll because, Pete Carroll, look at what he's done to Geno. I think most quarterbacks, if they learn under Pete Carroll and that Seattle system, could be successful.
Since you have the 5th pick, I would go for a quarterback now. But if you want to give a 1 year deal to Geno and maybe they're not as good next year, Caleb Williams is coming into the NFL next year. So, Caleb's going to be the hot thing. So, but again, if you have a chance to get CJ Stroud right now, you do it.
Yep.
If you're a team that needs a quarterback, you do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, the Texans and Lovie Smith messed that up.
Oh my God! Do you think
I can't get over it? By the way,
do you think Lovie Smith was just checking Twitter and being like, "Oh, I see these rumors. Oh, they're firing me. Ooh, we could win this and lose the number 1 pick."
Honestly, I think it was like in his head. I think it was like an FU. Be like, hey, let me just throw a Hail Mary to see what the hell happens.
Yeah,
and it worked. And it's like, hey, because he knew he was going to get fired, right? It's like, hey, let me go for 2
he didn't, but that's cap. We all know that he definitely knew it.
That's the thing too. We didn't do a show since then, and I've been going crazy seeing sports talk after that. when I see like former NFL players like Greg Jennings and there's other shows and stuff like that, it's like that sets a bad precedent in the locker room that, you know, you go into the game knowing that you should lose the number one pick. That's a bad message. Screw your message. Do you want to get, if you have the number one pick in this current draft, then you go and tank that game in a meaningless game. It's a meaningless game. Yes, you tell your players that you're not going to try your best today because we can get the next great quarterback. By the way, ask Jets fans a couple years ago if they won a meaningless game at the end of the season and it cost them Trevor Lawrence. Think they is that message good in the locker room still good there? I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, they all hate Zach Wilson.
I hate that. I know they're former players and, you know, they're in the locker room and guys' livelihoods and careers are on the line. I don't care. As an organization, if I was the GM, I'd be telling Lovie Smith, like, run the ball up the middle every freaking time. They had to lose that game. The Texans had to lose that game. And the fact that they did the heroic crazy miracle for absolutely nothing just to set their franchise back another decade, and people come out the next day and say, oh, Lovie Smith plays the win. That's great. It's a joke. It's a joke take to have. And that's
I mean, I don't think Lovie Smith even should have been fired. I think 1 year, I mean, I said this with David Culley last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, why? Who else are you going to get?
What's the point?
Yeah,
exactly. And if it would be one thing if they knew Sean Payton was heading out there, but they don't know that. But
I think it's because it's like literally, I think Lovie knew he was probably going to get fired, so he was going to do one last FU.
That's
be like, hey,
exactly what I'm saying.
I'm going to screw you guys out of the first round pick, and that's why he got fired. I think that's what happened.
Do you think the Texans could go on some absolute wild man behavior and trade back for the number one pick?
They should. That's literally. I think I tweeted that. That's yes, because like that. What else can you do? Because the Bears are 100% trading down. They're not going to get a quarter. They're trading down, and they should to support Justin Fields. They can get a haul to get a good thing around, get some pieces around Justin Fields, and they should. So
hypothetically, if you're the Bears, all right, let's say you trade your number one pick to Houston, which would be it would be an interesting move for the Texans, but it would be a Texan move to make. So they trade that pick.
Though. I mean, they messed up doing that and not getting number one pick in the first place.
So yeah, let's say you trade for the number one pick, and they have that. The Bears have the number 2 pick. Do you trade down again and get more assets?
Yes.
And then, because if you think about it, the Bears are going to tax whoever is getting this pick from them. Whoever is getting it, it's going to be a huge offer. I mean, so the Bears are getting so much more assets, and I mean, they can get like what? I mean, I'm sure they can get like 3. They could probably have a couple firsts, a bunch of seconds. First round picks are cool and all. Me being a Seahawks fan, if you like play your cards right, you can find like good offensive linemen or a solid receiver or whatever you in the second or third round. I mean, so if you're the Bears, you kind of if they really do trade with the Texans, you're trading down from number 2 again.
But also, I say that, but when I think about it in my head again, I got to go back to Caleb Williams. I mean, the Texans can just get another really good player at number 2, stink again, and try to get Caleb Williams the year after. I mean, they could do that.
And then you're going to fire your coach again and then have that same situation happen. I mean, the Texans are the biggest bleep show in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
terrible. It's just a diaper fire, as Jonas would say. It's not. Look, you have to feel bad for him, man. I mean, if I'm a Texans fan, if I'm like,
hey, as
one of the 6 of you, I'm sorry.
I mean, as a Charger fan, after that blowout 27-0 loss, I feel bad for nobody ever anymore. So
there you go. I mean,
anyway.
you kind of have that right. And really,
by the way, I am never going to get over that for a really long time. Not until they make it to the big show, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. So quickly here, and then we can quickly dive into Chiefs Jags after this. I mean, we kind of talked about Mahomes and all that already, but so worst losses in history of sports. All right, this isn't our fandoms. This is, I mean, one of them. Two of these are going to be our fandoms. But in history, all right, me as a fan, I have to go. You already know where I'm going. The 1 yard line against the Patriots in Glendale, Arizona.
Yep.
and Russell Wilson throws that interception. Could have had 2 Super Bowls in a row, 2 W's against Peyton Manning's Broncos and against Tom freaking Brady, which, I mean, I don't want to play the what if game, but there have been lots of topics if Tom Brady lost that one too. I mean, that's one less win. People are going to use that to his advantage. All right. But another Tom Brady one, this is for NFL. And then I have an NBA one too, was the 28-3 Atlanta Falcons, Super Bowl 51 or 52. I'm blanking on the number, but the year's 2017 collapse, 28-3 deficit. And then my other one was when the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
Oh, I mean, I was,
and then your Chargers. All right.
I was going to say, I was on the board when the 28-3 Falcons collapse was happening. Gavin Kinsel was the producer, and we were both. I mean, well, I was a Brady guy, but we were both cheering for the Patriots, and it was just that was one of my favorite times being on the board, seeing that Brady come back. I had money on that. I had money on that, by the way, and it was just having fun in the studio, etc. So yeah, I'm with you.
I also talked to Gavin about the Chargers after the loss.
Oh, we are yes. Oh, yes, I sure did. I mean, we're just we're slaves to pain with that team. We're pure slaves. But yeah, you guys my worst losses were, I mean, when the Celtics beat the Lakers in 2008, and then with Kobe and Gasol, and then the Celtics had KG. Garnett, Rondo, and Paul Pierce.
Yep.
That was brutal. But then they got their revenge in 2010, which is my top 3 favorite titles of all time. So it kind of, But I mean, I have a lot of painful. I mean, I'm a big Anaheim Ducks fan, which is hockey for people out there. I was a season ticket holder about a decade ago. I went to several game 7s in a 7-game series where they lost.
And this is a question I'm kind of trolling, but we're like those Anaheim Ducks season tickets, like the cheapest season tickets you probably could buy.
No, actually, because at the time I was much more wealthy than I am now, so they actually had club level seats. I split them.
Wow!
I split them with a friend, but yeah, it was a wild time for a couple years there. But anyway, I probably got my due diligence because I went to. Back-to-back years, they went to game 7s in the playoffs, and I was there for both losses. That was brutal. But I mean, but then the Marlon McCree fumble against the undefeated Patriots in 2007 in the playoffs. The Chargers had a fumble, and it probably not officially, but probably would have sealed the game. Marlon McCree got an interception and then fumbled the ball to get the Patriots back, and Tom Brady ended up going back to, of course, win the game. Nothing in comparison to that 27-0 collapse. Absolutely nothing for me as a sports fan at all. And
that's just one of those.
That's the thing.
It's over.
I am gonna
most of the time.
I'm still so jaded by it, and it's not gonna. That's what sucks. When people say like a part of my soul died that day. No, that's a real feeling. Like it feels like a big piece of my sports soul died that day because I'm not even that. When it's closer to August and it's like, man, football's coming up, I'm not going to be that as excited as I usually would be because the Chargers have a brutal schedule next year. They still have Staley. And, before that, and going back to the McCree thing, and also Nate Kading, they lost to the Jets in the AFC Championship game. Nate Kading, who missed 3 kicks all year long, missed 3 field goals in that game. So that's another game I forgot to mention as well.
That's like Brett Maher level, but even worse.
Yeah. So in the clutch times, and Philip Rivers got screwed out of a lot of big games he should have won. But anyway, neither here nor there. But anyway, when I always thought the Charger couldn't charger any harder, and they always
outdo it. Yeah,
they always outdo it. So at this point, it's like, how sad is this? If the Chargers ever have a big lead in a game for the rest of my life, even in that moment, in that game, I never had true confidence. And now I really will never have true confidence, even if they're up 30-0. And never again. It's jaded because, do I think, if everyone, they're never going to stay healthy all year. I already know that. And they still have Staley next year. hopefully, I mean, depending on if they get a good new, I don't need the bank. I don't want to bank on them getting a good offensive coordinator, but
hopefully it's about time.
I mean, as long as, I mean, it just let Herbert throw down. I mean, Herbert, it's crazy. They had a conservative offensive coordinator in Joe Lombardi, and Herbert still had the second most yards in the league, missing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams whole year.
Yes. Yep. And
so, I mean, with a good offensive coordinator that lets them throw down the field more often, it's like watching Joe Burrow and Mahomes. I mean, it's just watching them throw down the field when Herbert gets like little slant routes and everything like that. It's crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my most embarrassing losses. Nothing will top that Chargers loss.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, if I wasn't a Seahawks fan, I'd probably have to agree with you there because, I mean, that's one of the if it was 27-0 and there wasn't like 4 interceptions and a fumble, it would
a fumble. Didn't even mention that.
Yeah, 5 total turnovers. I mean, come
on.
By the way,
first time. I mean, it was the third worst loss.
How many TVs do you think got turned off at halftime?
No. I mean, the first time in NFL history that in a game where 5 turnovers end up in a loss for the other team.
Yeah.
What was your question before that?
How many people do you think turned off that game after halfway through second quarter? Like,
a bajillion. And by the way, the jinxes were in because I got texts from my friends, my wife did, my mom did about like congrats, like at halftime, like congrats. I'm like, shut up. And because I knew it was gonna be a jinx-a-rooney. I just knew it.
Yeah, I'm sure Arnie picked the Chargers, so that's probably what.
He's the biggest.
That's probably what happened. Yeah, I was like, after the Cowboys lost, I'm like, I wonder if Arnie picked him. Like, serious question.
Probably.
Kiss of death. You gotta love Arnie. But hey, Arnie, this is interesting. So I saw something on Ty Shirt's IG, and it was Vermont. He made tacos, right? And he used hot sauce from Arnie that Arnie would send in his Christmas packages. And I was like, wow, Arnie does it all, man. Because I the guys on the radio, and I'm sure you've had it before, talk about his maple syrup he gets in Vermont.
2 years in a row, he sent me the best syrup I've had in my life. It's unbelievable.
I'm sure you don't have it anymore either. I'm sure that's long gone.
Oh, no, I use that up. Oh, no, hell no. I use that in like a month.
Yeah. All right. Are you pancake or waffles guy?
Oh, waffles all the way.
Ooh, it's a hot. Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like the frozen waffles. But
I need the crunch.
The hotel waffles, like the ones on the waffle makers. Oh man, they're pretty good. But also, I like pancakes. But man, those hotel waffles, like the Belgian ones, if you have a waffle maker, you're living large, man.
Yeah,
pretty good stuff. But like pancakes, I feel like pancakes are just the number one, like just breakfast item. And
I don't know. I like the crunch. I mean, for me with pancakes, like I need to drench it in syrup and just I don't like.
Wait, do you put anything like what do you put on your waffle? Like if you had the Belgium homemade whatever waffles, or what do you put? Are you putting anything on it, or are you just going butter?
No, I'm just going some syrup and butter.
Yeah,
I don't have it often, but when I do, I'll choose a good waffle.
Oh yeah. I mean, why don't we get last week after Trevor Lawrence somehow came back, he went to Waffle House, man. I mean, that guy was living it. And people, I'm sure. Have you been to a Waffle House before?
I have. Yeah, when I went to Florida last year, yeah, I did, and it's pretty. It's solid. It's pretty solid.
Oh yeah, I mean, Denny's is like the chains that we have here. Denny's is trash. I mean, I
love Denny's. I love Denny's. Don't speak on Denny's. I'll take Denny's over IHOP any day of the week.
And I was just going to get to that. I'm usually an IHOP guy, but I went there Thursday morning. Me and a couple friends, we went there, and we were eating, and the food, man, it was just all cold. It was cold, not good. The bacon tasted like I needed like 2 glasses of water to eat the bacon because it was so dry. I was like, what is? I was very disappointed in our IHOP. So, but speaking of Trevor Lawrence, quickly, I know we got to get out here, but the Chiefs Jaguars, man, that was. I mean, there wasn't really much. I mean, Lawrence kept it close, and we kind of mentioned everything that needed to be mentioned with the Mahomes injury. I mean, you see him get injured, and he goes over to the sideline, and he's arguing with Andy Reid and the athletic trainer, like, "Hey, I don't know either. I think they were saying, maybe you should take it easy, whatever. And then he comes back in and looks solid, which is the crazy part. Mahomes is gonna Mahomes, right? I mean, he kept it close. I mean, won the game. Lawrence wasn't bad either. So yeah, there's really no. I mean, everyone's like, why don't you talk about more Giants and Eagles? It was a blowout. There's not much to talk about.
There's literally nothing to say. Yeah.
Besides, I will say great.
One thing I'm annoyed about is that the Trevor Lawrence thing. I saw like a graphic from last week. It was like a thing where it was like Trevor Lawrence, Mahomes, but like the whole thing is like Mahomes and I forgot who it was, had like their stats, but Trevor Lawrence had the stats where it's like second half versus Chargers, 4 touchdowns. It's like people are going to talk about Trevor Lawrence in this great light when he had 5 interceptions in 2 playoff games. Yeah. Like he had the worst first half in
playoff history.
One of the worst playoff first halves in NFL history. And the Chargers defense completely. I mean, did he have a great second half? Yeah, but I mean,
the first half was just that bad.
This is before the game happened, but there was a week leading up, and my better half, Nick Wright, for First Things First, and then it, just kind of just dominoed effect from there. We're saying like, who's better, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert? And this is before that game, and I'm like, how is this a freaking question right now?
Yep,
it is asinine. And asinine to even bring this. There's no First of all,
I think that's even worse than the Herbert Tua debate.
It's close.
It's worse.
People were like Nick Wright said that like Trevor Lawrence had a better year than Herbert, and he had 800 less yards than Herbert when he didn't have Mike and Keenan the whole year.
Yeah,
it's just like what are we doing here? And then I'm not getting off that whatsoever. Trevor Lawrence got bailed out by Brandon Staley and that Chargers defense. Just horrible coaching that led to that comeback. Hell no, Trevor Lawrence is not better than Justin Herbert right now. Hell no, he is not.
Yep, and even if Lawrence, like, people, I mean, I'm sure everyone, oh my god, like, people are Herbert haters, and it's annoying. But people, I mean, if Brandon Staley didn't just have a brain, his brain didn't rip in half in the second half. I was trying to think of a way that we wouldn't get in trouble for saying that, even though we're on the show. But if Brandon Staley didn't have a brain fart, the worst one you could have, I mean, even if Lawrence had that, his 4 touchdowns, whatever he had in total, they still would have lost. I mean, they still would have lost. It's just all, like you said, Brandon Staley won Trevor Lawrence that game. And yeah, he did have a great second half, but that first half was so bad, it spoke volumes.
That game was all about the Chargers' collapse, nothing about Trevor Lawrence's comeback. That game should have been a 45-burger blowout for the Chargers. It just should have been. And or at least it was a healthy mix of the defense collapse and the offensive decisions were terrible. And I'll say again, Herbert has a slice in there too of not getting it done as well with a couple key throws. So I mean, it was again the biggest second half collapse in NFL history, besides maybe the Patriots Falcons. It's just I'm never gonna get over it, to be honest.
I mean, I would be pretty. I mean, you said a part of your sports fandom soul got ripped out that day, and it's fair to have. It's fair.
I don't know how much soul I have left because the Chargers have ripped it out so many times over the years.
And you're an Angels fan, so I mean.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of that, I have been wearing an Angels hat this whole time because, hey, usually I wear a Chargers hat, but hey, let's trade out a terrible franchise for the other because Artie Moreno, one of the best news for Angels fans since Ohtani got to the Angels was that Artie Moreno is finally going to sell the team so an actual owner can do business and actually make a franchise good. Oh, nope. Artie Moreno said he pulled a Vince McMahon like the WWE and said, nope, I'm going to come back and I'm still running the show. So Angels fans, Emmett, I'm just going to say, who has it worse than me as a sports fan? Think about it right now. Chargers fan, Angels fan. Anaheim Ducks fan, worst NHL team in the league. We can get into the Lakers in a second. They're kind of interesting.
Rui Hachimura, yeah.
So Lakers fan. So I mean, I'm in sports hell right now, and it's pretty bad.
I'm trying to like think in my head, go through people, I'm trying to think of a Texans fan because that's automatically one of the board ops at Fox Sports Radio who left recently I'm pretty sure was a Texans fan. So that guy, that's not as bad as three teams that just ruin your life, man. I mean, the Chargers probably ruined your whole weekend after that.
Oh yeah,
God. And the difference between my loss and your loss was mine was expected, and the Seahawks loss was it. I mean, come on, if you thought I did not expect us to win, all right, I was like, we would keep it close, but we're not winning.
Right.
But yours, that was supposed to be a great game, and then to see Lawrence throw four first half picks and then fumble the ball, and then they found a way to win that because the Chargers got Charger. Yours isn't pretty. But Arnie, he makes it seem like he's in like for real sports jail. I'm like, Arnie, you're a Mets fan and a Dolphins fan, and you have like 8 other teams. You're fine.
Yeah.
So that's the difference right there. But yeah, your sports fandom. You're pretty. It's rough.
Pretty rough.
I had the Mariners who weren't good for years, but look, they made it to the playoffs, and I didn't expect them to beat the Astros. And then my Seahawks are always in the running every year. My Blazers, the Blazers always, I don't know why that team just, every time we lose some stupid fashion in the playoffs. And then the Kraken are starting to be good. Yeah, you're definitely, I can't think of anyone else who has it worse than you at this moment. I'm sure I will later.
You mentioned the Kraken, but the NHL Ducks, this is the perfect time for a team to tank in sports. The Ducks are last in the league, and there's this new kid named Bedard who's supposed to be the next McDavid in hockey. So if the Ducks get him, just keep. I'm happy the Ducks are bad this year, if I'm being honest. So
yeah, why not, right? Because you guys probably gonna get him. Why don't we go over the Lakers made a.
I got one more. Yeah, I got one more topic. Let's do. Yeah, we're gonna do the Lakers because woo.
Rui Hachimura. I woke up to this news, turned on Fox Sports Radio, and Cowherd and Nick Cope was talking about. I'm like, wow, that I like the move. Hachimura is a young player. You guys needed.
I don't
needed
know.
A move.
Whatever. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna pretend like I know the guy and he's great. Like when I look at what all the Lakers fans are saying, like they said, I knew Kendrick Nunn stunk, and the 3 second round picks are like,
who cares?
That's never gonna amount to anything anyway. So
it's not gonna hurt you.
It's a big dude who can shoot kind of well, but from when I read from Lakers fans and Lakers media, it's a good move. So hey, cool, awesome.
Yeah, he was pretty solid in Gonzaga, but he never really like he wasn't like all that for the Wizards. So I think he's gonna be a role player for you guys, but you guys need some sort of help.
Here's the thing. The Lakers, they were down by 26 points at the half last night, 25. And they're without Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, some of their best players.
You guys have.
Here's the thing. Too. LeBron James, they beat the Grizzlies and Ja Morant the other night, and they're only 3 games below 500. They're only a few games out of the top 8. Emmett. LeBron James, it is not being talked about enough. At 38 years old, LeBron is pretty much averaging his age in points. And he's playing the most minutes of everybody as well. This is the most superhuman thing I've ever seen in sports history. And by the way, if the Lakers keep winning, LeBron, and yes, I don't care about a stat sheet on this. This is implied into the award. LeBron James at his age needs to be an MVP conversation if they keep winning and get into that top. If they get out of the play-in spot and actually just in that top 8, LeBron's the MVP, and I don't want to hear a word about it. And I think the Lakers I don't think they're done with trades. They still have stuff to work with. They can work with Westbrook.
When's the trade deadline? February 7th? Or February,
Something like that. But what LeBron is doing, at his age right now is unprecedented in sports history. And people need to understand that. Like, it is a pleasure to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I put out a tweet last year, and I think, you saying this and LeBron having these, 38-point games and getting close to a triple-double, getting a triple-double. I put out a tweet, and if LeBron wins MVP next year, I'm going to do something crazy on the show, like like a spicy food challenge or something like that. And some guy bookmarked it. So I think, a ghost pepper might be consumed on the show if LeBron wins MVP.
Oh, ghost pepper! I eat those on the regular. Come on, gotta do something better
really?
than that.
Okay, then I'll let you choose. If LeBron wins MVP, I'll let Nick Wright and the viewers choose. We'll have a thing, a couple options, and I'll put a Twitter.
Well, I mean, by the way, it's a huge long shot, so it's got to be something crazy.
That's exactly what I said. I just there's no way he's winning it, and this was in June of 2022.
Hey, as long as Jokic doesn't, if Jokic wins 3 in a row MVPs, I'm gonna lose my effing mind.
He probably will.
No, hell, I don't believe it, because only Larry Bird, Wilt, maybe Kareem. There's only 3 dudes who have done it, and you're gonna give it to a guy who's never even sniffed in a finals. That's my god, I won't be able to take it. I won't be able to take it.
NBA is so weird because they're like, oh, we care if they're good in the regular season for the MVP, and then it's the NBA. It's literally a season of just regular season where nothing else. I mean, you have to be good too, but you could do bad in the playoffs and still be fine next year.
The NBA is a weird thing with the award because it's sometimes it does go into playoff consideration, and it has to. You cannot sit here and in the history of time, 15 years from now, that people are going to look back, oh, wait, Jokic won 3 MVPs in a row when he probably will. Oh, I'm saying this right now. Denver is not going to make a finals. I don't see him ever making a finals. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. So you cannot give a 3-time in a row MVP that kind of clout. It's just, he is the most boring player I can ever, superstar, biggest quote unquote ever, and I can ever remember.
Yep. Hey, I mean, he's like a passing point guard. That's really all he is. But in a 7-foot 1 body.
Luka is such a better. Oh my god,
Luka's crazy.
But anyway, watch out.
2010 triple double.
If the Lakers make a couple more moves, just watch out. Just watch out.
Do you think that that Luka? You think? I mean, he's got to be in the MVP race as well, right?
I mean, for me, he's at the top. That's just me.
Yeah, that guy's going crazy.
KD's having an insane season. I mean, Tatum is having a great season.
Tatum.
Again, I think LeBron's got to be sneaking up there too. So.
Yep. All right, that is going to wrap it up for the episode of Blindside Sports. If you guys enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, EmmettNoC04, Instagram and TikTok, Blindside_sports, and I'll be posting it. You might have to remind me in a couple hours, but the clip of Nick's Brock Purdy stuff and clips from this show.
Oh, I will. Don't you worry. I will DM you. Yes.
So go follow over there, and me and Nick are both very kind of interactive on Twitter. So if you don't be scared to interact with our takes. If they're bad, we're there to be on Twitter to debate our takes. So if they're bad, disagree with it. If you have a good point, tweet it at us. I'm sure one of us will get to it. But
I love the hate.
he's fueled by the hate. So if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications because we are a live streamed show over at Blindside Sports. So you don't want to miss part of it. If you are that big of a fan, but thank you for watching. Enjoy the championship weekend, and I hope to have another show then in a couple of days. Enjoy the championship weekend. Enjoy all the food that comes with it. Be safe.
Oh wait, Emmett, before we go, just in case, we got to do our picks. Obviously, I have the Niners. You have the Eagles. What do you officially have in the AFC? I just got to know before we go.
All right. I think because, and this is quick, I haven't really even done too much research on, looked into stuff, but because of Mahomes' ankle and because of how crazy Joe Shiesty in the Cincinnati, Bengals are, Give me the Bengals to go back to back. I think if Mahomes didn't have this ankle injury, I for real think he would have. I think it would have been his game. I mean, Mahomes go back to another Super Bowl against the Niners, little rematch, or Niners or Eagles. I think Mahomes would want that. But now that he's going to be limited by, with a high ankle sprain, which if he wasn't in the playoffs, he probably would miss some time. So yeah, I think the Bengals are going to win it. I still think it's going to be a close game, but there's going to be some things that the Bengals are going to take advantage of that Mahomes can't do. Like if they can cover Travis Kelce and Mahomes has to make his own plays, then it's going to be rough. What about you? Obviously, I got the Eagles.
Yep. Yeah, I think Joe Burrow is going to show that he might be the man in the NFL. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a game. So
there we go.
I got Bengals Niners.
There we go.
All right.
Yep. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and follow the social medias and check. We'll have to do a show like Monday or maybe even Sunday night after, depending on the bet. So yeah, keep updated to Twitter because I'm sure we'll be interacting a lot the day of the championships with our bet. DoorDash bet. If you guys don't remember, if you haven't heard, me and Nick have a bet. I think Eagles are winning to go into the Super Bowl. He thinks Niners are going to the Super Bowl, and we're betting a free meal on the other person, a DoorDash meal, because we don't live in the same area. So
yeah. By the way, yeah, I'm not feeling great about that bet at this point, so we'll see.
It might be Chick-fil-A on Nick, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure
Del Taco, baby. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I might have to do that too. All right.
Later.